as the title says, governability achieved by the respect of human rights and peace. To me, that's a very important message, because it's one of the most important things in any country that we live today. You can govern by force, but you cannot forcibly govern forever. The Declaration of Human Rights was instituted on the 10th of December of 1948, and 3 countries abstained. And that was during the Third General Assembly of the United Nations. Among some of the articles are the right to life, freedom from torture and inhuman or degrading treatment, freedom from slavery and forced labor, right to liberty and security, right to a fair trial, no punishment without law, respect for our private and family life, home and correspondence, freedom of thought, belief, and religion, freedom of expression, right to marry and to start a family, protection and discrimination in respect of these rights and freedoms, right to peaceful enjoyment of your property, right to education, right to participate in free elections, and so on and so forth. I'm going to focus mainly on the commercial side, the social side. Because when we think about human rights, we think about torture and inhuman or degrading treatment. But no, human rights is much more than that. Let's say, for example, every member state of the European Union has to have an association agreement in order to belong to the European Union. An association agreement that has 3 main pillars: political dialogue, cooperation, and commerce. None of these pillars are more important than other. Rather, they are equally important. Honduras is part of the Central American region. We are the only region in existence on this planet Earth, in this universe, that has an association agreement with Europe. But why am I bringing it up? Why am I bringing up an association agreement and relating it to human rights and governability? Because without the human rights clause that we have in the association agreement, we wouldn't be able to have an association agreement with Europe. Our countries in Central America approved in record time the association agreement. Europe, on the other hand, has not complied with the approval of the association agreement by some 2 countries. And right now it's Belgium and Austria. For as long as they don't approve it, that means we are on hold. However, there was a clause that if we passed it in Central America, then that means we could implement the commercial side. I said that I was going to focus on the human rights with regards to economics and with regards to the social. And before I do so, I have to give you a little bit of history of mine with regards to the human rights movement. My father and the rest of the family supported my father in the inauguration or commencing of the movements of human rights in Honduras and in Central America. There was no movement of human rights. There were abuses of all kinds. But then again, today we have evolved And we're one of the few countries and regions that can say we have upgraded ourselves, we have reinvented ourselves, and today we have an association agreement with Europe. Why is the respect of the social condition of every country important with regards to human rights? Because every child has the right to have an education, and every father has the right to educate their children. And when you see that teachers go on strike because they want to achieve more in their rightful way of getting something more from the government. But there's a thin line, because there's a line that says that when does their right finish and when does the right of the others commence? So it is very important to tie all this together with the political side and the commercial side, because with no education, there's no drive on the development of a country. There's no development on the private sector. There's no development in any such way. Why is it important that we have human rights on the private sector? Because sometimes in countries like ours, like mine, we have people that don't respect the law, and they think that they are above the law, and we need them to focus so that the people that are working for them, the people that are the drive of that company, don't feel minimized or left out. When I think of human rights, I think about inclusiveness. Inclusiveness in a sense whereby we would like to all benefit and enjoy life to the best of our abilities. But then again, it's not always perfect. Democracy is not always perfect. And all we can do is try to fight so that we can have what we have today, which is freedom. To me, without human rights and without peace, you cannot have governability in a country. Like I said at the beginning of my story here tonight, and my testimony to you, you can govern by force, but you will not have governability. And to me, this is a very simple way of saying human rights is important for the rich, the poor, on the political side, on the social side, and for all of us, because it's for a common cause. Like I promised you, I was going to be brief. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your statement. If there are some questions now, many questions here, Mr. Sturmer.
Yeah.
Please.
My question is concerning the human rights situation in Honduras after the presidential elections and all the reports we read in the international media, not only in the United States but also in Europe, relate to violence and to instability and to doubts of the electoral process. And as you will know better than me, quite a number of people have died because of the use of force on the streets by the police, and the integrity of the electoral procedures is in doubt. I know, of course, the latest developments. Now the government has declared that the issue is settled, but there is unrest. The opposition feels oppressed, and we are here in Europe. We cannot make an assessment of the situation. You have direct information as ambassador of the country, and because now Honduras is in the headlines exactly in terms of human rights and governability, which is the topic of your presentation, governability, human rights and peace. That's why I asked you.
Thank
Give me a first-hand
you.
assessment on the part of the government.
Thank you. I will give you an assessment, not only on behalf of the country, but also as my personal own opinion. First, this is the ambassador speaking. We had an electoral process that commenced with a timeline in the month of February of this year, commencing with the primary elections. Everybody participated, all segments of the population through different political parties, whether if they are from the right, left, center, center, left, center, right. They all participated. They all abided by the rules of the game. Even there were alliances formed for the electoral process. What am I saying? Let's say, for example, imagine an alliance going into an electoral process here in Germany between the SPD, FDP, and maybe the AFD, just to say something out loud. And they conformed an alliance. They had to abide by the law because they have to register that alliance. And they did so. And even though they were late, the National Supreme Tribunal, Electoral Tribunal, gave them more time so that they could achieve this. Everything culminated on November 26th of this year with an electoral process that was the most voted election in the history of the country of Honduras. And by the way, we got our independence in 1821, and this has been the most voted election ever. It was the most voted election because of several reasons. But among those reasons are because the people were conscientious enough that they had to cast their vote because they didn't want to leave that decision to others for their own life and their own well-being and their own way of thinking how the government should be run. Democracy is not perfect. Take a look at the United States. Al Gore versus George Bush. Take a look at the elections recently between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. I'm not saying anything but the facts. Honduras went into the elections on November 26th. They were peaceful. Everybody voted in peace. Everybody finished their voting. And then the problem commenced because nobody waited for what the law says, which is wait for the tribunal of electoral process to announce who the real winner is. We recently got that announcement, but between November 26th and the day of the announcement, Many things happened. But it's part of democracy. One, by the way, among the articles that you have in the Declaration of Human Rights, people have the right to manifest themselves, to demonstrate. But nobody is either above the law, and that just because I demonstrate, that doesn't mean I'm going to go into your home and rob and do some other things that are might not within the framework of the law. I'm not defending anything because I come from the human rights movement. I come from the people. My sister was assassinated because of the human rights work that my father did. It was supposed to be my brother or me, but that evening we didn't go out. My sister did, and she got assassinated. My father was the one that condemned Honduras because of the human rights disappearances from the military in Honduras, the first country in the Western Hemisphere to have been condemned. And I relate all this because we're talking about what you mentioned just now, deaths. But as I know the human rights movement, as I know my country, for as long as the investigations of all these cases that you're mentioning are not finished, I wouldn't want to say something that is going to be in detriment to the ongoing investigation of each and one of those cases. And it's not cases, it's human loss. And by the way, as I didn't like to see my sister assassinated, to have seen my sister assassinated, every life counts. Every human being counts. The Declaration of Human Rights says that we are all equal. And as a Catholic that I am, we are all created equal before the eyes of God. No matter what religion, no matter what ideology, we're all equal. However, as the latest developments between last night and right now, within the past 24 hours, the new president-elect has announced a national reconciliation dialogue. And it has been accepted by all of those who lost. And it has been accepted by civil society. And it has been accepted also by the churches of all denominations in Honduras. That is a first step in consolidating the governability that the new government is going to need. And last but not least, we are one of the few countries in the world, and I'm proud to say, as some people here say, I'm proud to be a European, I'm proud to be a Central American, I'm proud to be a Honduran. It boils my blood as a Latino. But I can tell you that I'm proud to say and announce that over 16,000 observers internationally and nationally participated in the electoral process. People from the European Union, people from the United Nations, people from the Organization of American States, people from the extreme left of Latin America, people from the extreme right, they all were there among the same Honduran civil society that participated also as observers. Doubts. You're talking about doubts. There will always be doubts. Hey, Al Gore, it's still doubtful. Hillary Clinton, hey, what the heck? She's the most doubtful right now, in recent history in this planet. Nobody likes to lose. I don't like to lose. Even when I see my team that can't go to the World Cup and then we lost against Australia, that hurt. That hurt. By the way, every time I think about it, I get depressed. Maybe my wife, who's here today, and she just came from the airport, and we came straight here, can console me after this, after thinking about my team losing and not going to the World Cup. But anyways, the point is, no system is perfect. No system is perfect. But what we can do is not promote violence. Because if you promote violence, there won't be any dialogue. And if there is no dialogue, there will be death. And I am against that. Yes, you have the right to think whichever way you want. But it gets to a point that if you don't have a clear majority, that doesn't mean you have a very clear mandate. And you will need those people on the opposition to govern, and not only to govern, but to respect the human rights and peace. That's my answer. I don't know if it's okay for you.
Just one more question or remark, because it is important. We had a similar situation in Austria just 1 year ago, and Honduras might have followed this practice in Austria. We had presidential elections. There was a dispute about the integrity of the procedures and of the counting of the votes. And it was quite narrow. And I can tell you what happened. There were complaints made by one of the parties. The Constitutional Court of the Republic of Austria took the matter up, studied it carefully, and did not just order a recount. It cancelled the elections, and it ordered a new election where they had to follow much more strict and precise procedures. Because in Honduras, I know I've seen the reports, not only of Amnesty International, but also of other investigating bodies. The problem was the integrity of the accounting procedure. And that has caused suspicions, and that has brought demonstrations. And as a result of this, quite a big number of people have been killed. We will not go here into details. So I think in terms of governability of the Republic of Honduras, it would have been beautiful if the judiciary, hopefully independent of the president who wants to stay in office, if the judiciary would have ordered a new election where one could have done everything transparently and systematically, and that could be the basis of peace. And I just say, we were after Haiti, Austria was only the second country in recent history where the Supreme Court had cancelled the elections. So we felt ashamed that we could not do things properly, but anyhow, that was the procedure. And we had a second round of elections, and now there is peace. If this would not have happened, I think Austria would be rather unstable, and we would have a very heated and negative political climate. I'm sorry, but I just want to...
No, that's fine. It's only fair. It's only fair. It's only fair. And I accept that criticism. And I accept that observation. I accept that comment with open arms. But what I will tell you is, every legal system is different. Your system in Austria, and I am also the ambassador in Austria. I'm concurrent in Austria. And by the way, I love your country too. But I do love Luxembourg. Oh, by the way, ambassador, I love your country too. but before that, I just want to answer. I just want to, as I am accepting your comment, I have to tell you, I don't want to go into details because it would be unfair of judging as me judging right now, because we're still waiting for the final reports of the Organization of American States and the mission of observers from the European Union. It would be extremely unfair for those delegations that never left Honduras until the day the new president was declared. They didn't leave Honduras. And we're not like other countries in this world that don't accept political observers for an electoral process. However, I have to admit and say that something within the system, within the law, does not permit right now a new electoral process. It's not up to the Supreme Court. It's up to the law. The law in Honduras states that there can only be elections every 4 years. That's not me saying it. That is the law. Between the moment that the president-elect was elected or announced that he was a president-elect and the 26th of December, the opposition can submit for a ruling of, let's say, for example, a recount, doing whatever they want. They have this time available, this time frame. And between the day of the elections and the day that the announcement was made, the opposition requested a recount of 5,000 electoral tables. Then they went up to 10,000. Then they went up to 11,000. Then they went up to 14,000. And the recount was done. But still, there is a distrust. And it's understandable. It's within the human being to distrust. If I don't win, I distrust. Hey, I still think that the Australians paid the referee in the game between Honduras and Australia. But that's my perception. That's my distrust. And I really do believe that, by the way. But anyways, now what we have to do, we have to have a dialogue so that we can change the system, so that we can permit the cancellation of elections and we can have new elections, or we can have a second round when there's doubts like the ones that we're living right now. And by the way, there's two sides of the coin. There is doubts on the side that won. No, I'm sorry. There's no doubt on the side that won. But there are doubts on the side that lost. And we're talking about a very close margin. 45 versus 44%. It's only a 50,000 difference of votes between the one who won and the second runner-up. So you will always have doubts. I take your comments in a very positive way because I agree. But the problem is not the country. It's the law, the way it's enacted. And we have to rejuvenate that law and that system. That's all.
You permit the question of the lady here, please.
Ladies first, I should have said.
I would just like to share a nice example from Austria. It is related to your speech because it is about promotion of peaceability, cultivation of peaceability, starting from early education, elementary level. So we have programs for children in kindergarten where they learn to develop their communication skills through art practices, through talk sessions, and through negotiation by constructive dialogues using Lego bricks. So there is some hope that we will cultivate also peaceability from elementary level in order to be able to keep this governability alive.
I never lose hope. If you lose hope, then that means you have nothing. And by the way, I want to read something that they just sent me. And it's right here. And I'm just going to read it to you. It's a U.S. Department of State press release, press statement. And it says, the United States notes that Honduras Supreme Electoral Tribunal has declared incumbent President Juan Orlando Hernandez the winner of the November 26 presidential elections. We understand this decision triggers a 5-day period as establishment by Honduran law to present any challenges, which is what I was telling you recently, of the election result. We encourage political parties to use this avenue to raise any concerns they may have. We call for all Hondurans to refrain from violence. We urge all political parties and leaders to stress to their supporters the need to resolve their differences peacefully, which is what I'm saying. It is also important the government ensures Honduran security service respect of rights of peaceful demonstrators, protesters. We are on the right path, you and me, all of you. It's just how to get there. There may be different avenues, different routes, but what we want in the end is peace and security and no ambiguity. Thank you.
So give applause to Ambassador Keynote.